So I have a little different message from my good friend Liam and my colleague Shane. I don't think the solution is having people drink less in Ireland. That's not my approach to the meaning of addiction. And I test marketed this. This summer in August, I came to Northern Ireland to visit with Dahi, with my 10-year-old grandson. And they were having a concert. And people brought their kids, and they were playing like 70s and 80s kind of music. They served beer. It was an older crowd, if you know what I mean. Do you think a lot of people got drunk and got in fights and everything at that environment? Of course not. Everybody knew how to behave themselves. And what am I telling you? The context, the message that you convey about drinking and what's appropriate in a given setting is the most crucial determinant of behavior. Now, that's not an easy thing, is it? You can't change a whole culture, that can't be done, but there are ways you can set up environments to be more socially positive drinking environments. And he told me one other thing was more constructive, other than the confusing consumption and problem. He said, you know, things have gotten worse in Ireland because when my father went to a bar in the old days at a pub, if somebody got drunk, his friends and neighbors would say, you know, you should go home now. You should be with your family, or you should take care of yourself. And the word for that is, what's the word for that? You're looking at your watch. Okay, one more slide after this, but all right. Well, it's caring and community. And we're not going to reverse community deterioration very readily. We can do what we can as individuals. But here's an idea I have. There's something called brief interventions. That's a real thing, where you train people, non-professionals, to intervene with people who are seemingly getting engaged in a problem behavior, like alcohol. And they are a way to talk to the person in a non-directive way to ask, well, how are you and what are you doing? Should you be doing this? I have a mild suggestion. I'm an expert on treating addiction or coaching addiction, but as a policy person, I'm throwing some ideas out there. And my idea is to train somebody at a bar employee, to do brief interventions for people who appear to have a problem, who are just left where they are now in a bar. People aren't going to help them. And where in the old days, a friend or relative would have helped them. And one last thing I suggest is making help accessible. You don't have, Liam informed me, alcohol treatment services virtually in Galway. The Life Process program that Dahi and I are presenting is a way for people to readily get help by going online, filling out some things. They can talk to a coach or a counselor online, making it as easy as possible to get help when you need it. Okay, here's my last slide. They've redefined, SAMHSA means Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. They redefined recovery, very similarly to what Pauline said. 4 pillars of recovery. Health, people have to be healthy. Home, we've discussed that, haven't we? Purpose. You need a reason to, those guys who are dying in West Virginia or in inner city Baltimore, what do they lack? More than anything, purpose. So, in the Life Process program, we encourage them to get positively involved in education and work. And community. Okay, I have one more point to make, no more slides. I asked what his most important quality for his children was. The most important quality I owe you an answer that I thought I should give my children is agency, the ability, the belief, and the ability to control their own existences. I think there's nothing more essential or important in life. I believe every one of those people at that table were doing that with their children, whether they conceived it that way or not. We could have a whole talk about how you give people agency, their belief that their capabilities. Pauline discussed that with parents. You give them the chance. Well, I have one more Irish story. Is it time to get off now? Is it about time? No more stories? I give one more story. So I brought my 10-year-old grandson to Daihi's, and I wanted him to see his own efforts succeeding. I want him to do things. The year before, I took him to my friend Larry's in in Idaho, and he made a stool, and that's the proudest thing, he's a carpenter, he has in his life, a stool that he built. And so he went out, we picked berries, and he made jam with Daihi's wife, and he brought that home. And every morning he would go out, Daihi has chickens, and get eggs. And one morning I got a feeling for how many eggs were coming in. I said, I'll bet you $5 that there's more than 3 eggs out there. And sure enough, he came in with 3 eggs. Can you see where this story is going? So that afternoon, we went to that thing that I talked about, the concert. And when we were coming home, Daihi's calculating in his mind, well, we have to have a meal. We have to have an omelet, but it's his 2 kids and him and me and my grandson. 3 eggs isn't going to do it. I'm such a genius, ain't I? I'm going to win the Nobel Prize. Daihi turns to Cassius and he said, how many eggs did you leave out there in the coop? And Cassius said, 2. And Daihi said, why don't you get those eggs and we'll make an omelet? How did Daihi know that he had left 2 eggs out there to win the bet? So this is by way of telling you, I don't know the answers to everything. It's a modest statement on my part. But I want to go back to that one table. Why are all sorts of drug deaths increasing in America? Synthetic narcotics, painkillers, heroin, meth and cocaine. What do they have to do with prescriptions? Why are all deaths increasing? Because the modern medical approach to addiction does nothing so much as to remove a sense of agency from the individual and from the people trying to help that individual. And a sense of agency, as Pauline pointed out, is the essential ingredient in what you're trying to give people, to allow them to overcome the issues they face in life, including addiction issues. We're doing exactly the wrong thing. Thanks so much for having me speak.